Hi, I'm Andrea. I am very glad that you found this video or that you decided to watch it if you follow me on Instagram. We are almost halfway through April, I know, but still, this is my January-March wrap-up. I started the year in the biggest slump ever. I'm in my senior year at college and between classes, and that I got obsessed over a Spanish reality show that became my entire personality for 3 months. I only read 5 books, but I'm going to talk about them nonetheless. I started my year with Hush Hush by Lucia Franco. Technically, I read half of it last year, but I'm still gonna count it. I gave it 3.5 stars. It is a billionaire romance, age gap, forbidden love. We follow Aubrey. She has a miserable life working 2 jobs and going to college at the same time. And her best friend decides to introduce her to high-end escorting. Yes, you heard that right. And we kind of fall down the rabbit hole from there. A man she can't stay away from and all that just... I actually thought it was a cool concept. It just fell short for me. I didn't completely buy the romance. It was very superficial, very shallow, in my opinion at least. It was more physical than an actual connection. I mean, they did have a connection because they talked and they were very similar souls. I just didn't feel that connection. It was very kinky, very smutty. So if you're looking from just a fun, smutty read to have a good time, this book might be for you. I did connect with Aubrey because she only wanted to take care of her and her grandmother. I mean, isn't that sweet? That's why she takes the job. To not worry about money and just enjoy life and spoil her grandma. But that's as far as it goes for me. I mean, it was fun and entertaining. I just don't have strong feelings towards it. I did read it for work, so maybe that has something to do with my opinion. Maybe I looked at it with critical eyes instead of just enjoying the ride like I usually do. So yeah, maybe that affected my perception of it. I would still recommend it if you're a fan of the tropes that I listed before and the very bad blurb that I gave you. Then we jumped to the book that actually got me out of my reading slump. My best friend told me, hey, read Fort Wayne. It's gonna get you out of the slump like this. And it did. I ate it up. It's an enemies to lovers, and there are dragons. You don't need more information. But in case you do, we follow our main girl Violet, who has been preparing her whole life to be a scribe, but instead is thrown into the writer's quadrant by her mother. And you know, the writer's quadrant is known for being an absolute killing machine, where only 30% of the students get to graduation. So Violet has to do whatever it takes to survive, and it's gonna be hard. This book has me on a chokehold. I don't know what is laced between those pages, but it was one of the most addictive books that I have read in my entire life. Is it perfect? No. Does it have the most intricate and amazing world building? No. Did I give it 5 stars and for me it was an absolute masterpiece? Yes. I had a great time, okay? I am a sucker for a good enemies to lovers romantasy books, and this checked all the boxes. So I am now obsessed, and it's gonna be my entire personality for the foreseeable future. Satan Ryerson has become my top 1 book boyfriend of all time. I don't know why, he just does it for me. I am completely in love with that man. I also really like Violet. I like that she is not this invincible warrior stereotype that we are used to reading in modern fantasy. She has her limitations, and it is emphasized throughout the book that she is physically weaker than anyone else in the writer's quadrant. But she is also very smart, fierce, badass, and strong in her own way. This first book, as introductory as it was still very entertaining to read. A lot was happening even though we were just seeing Violet get through the year trying not to die. It was high stakes, but also very mundane and day-to-day in some sort of weird mix that hooks you from the get-go. I love the characters, as superficial some of them may be personality-wise because we don't get a lot of background on them, but they're still lovable. Tyron is so sassy. I swear I laughed out loud multiple times with his commentary, because that's another thing. This book has no business being as funny as it was. I was reading people die in some chapters, and in other chapters, I was just laughing my ass off at random situations and funny dialogue. And I guess it did need the comedic relief, but it also shattered my heart into a million pieces, so that's a plus. Then I did something that I never do, which is reading 2 books from the same series back to back, because I tend to burn out from reading the same storyline and the same characters for too long. So I like to change genres and books in between, but I was so hooked that I was like, you know what? I want to start Iron Flame immediately. Thinking that maybe I would burn out at like halfway through and just put it on pause until the next book came out. But no, I finished it and now I have to wait for the next book like everyone else. And I kid you not, I will probably reread Fourth Wing and Iron Flame before the release of Onyx Storm just to feed my obsession. But actually talking about the book, I like this one a little bit less than the first one. I gave it 4.5 stars. I was gonna give it 4, but the ending took it up a notch. Again, I am obsessed with these characters and this story, so I was never gonna give it less than 4 stars because I was still enjoying myself. And actually it was really good too. We get further into the plot and deeper into the world building, but make no mistake, this book is at least 50% relationship drama in the middle of war. Now, I'm gonna throw some minor spoilers because I need to get some things off my chest, so if you haven't read the book or you don't wanna hear them, you can skip up until here. When Violet asked, "Are we still having the same fight after 5 months?" I really felt that because, girl, I was asking myself the same question. I loved the moments between Satan and Violet where they weren't arguing over something stupid, but those moments are overshadowed by them having the same fight over and over. I was fed up. I just wanted them to resolve their issues and talk it out. I wanted to scream at them, especially Violet. Because, girl, you don't need to know everything. She was all, "I want full disclosure." But what were you expecting? Did you just want Satan to sit down with a cup of tea and be like, "It all started when my mom met my dad and they fell in love and they had me"? No, that wasn't gonna happen. Not even conversations in real life work that way. And Satan was also a pain in the ass with his whole ask me thing, but that's still more acceptable than just expecting him to spill his life story from the moment he was born. But anyways, we discover more secrets and the plot really starts to thicken in this one. My heart got shattered again, and that massive cliffhanger. It won't let me sleep until January 2025. This series is now one of my favorites of all time, up there with ACOTAR. And that's saying something because there are only 2 books out. I hope it only gets better from here. I am absolutely obsessed, and I'm saying that for the 3rd time, but I am also scared to my very core. Because for the first time in my reading experience, I am completely in the dark as to how the series is gonna end and what's gonna happen. Then we have El Chico que dibujaba constelaciones de Alice Gillen. Is a book in Spanish, so I'll be short. It's the first time I read the author and I loved the way she writes. It's a very poetical writing style. I highlighted a lot of quotes and tabbed every other page. It's a love story, as simple as that. We follow the lives of Gabrielle and Valentina and their ups and downs. No more to it. It was a very beautiful read and it made me feel, in general. I'm talking deep rooted emotions. I cried like a freaking baby and I was sobbing at 3 a.m. when I finished this one. It was a very emotional ride even though the story itself is pretty simple. I gave it 5 stars and I still think about a lot of quotes from this book even after 2 weeks of reading it. Then I listened to The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. In this book we follow Cassie. She is unemployed and she has 2 options. Find a job or go back to her OnlyFans days, and she doesn't want to do that until she is presented with the perfect job, being an overpaid nanny. Or at least it seemed perfect until she discovers that the dad of the girl she's nannying might just be the best subscriber she had in her OnlyFans days. It was a funny rom-com. I gave it 4 stars. As I said, I read it on audiobook and listening to it on the bus was a wild ride. Because damn, was that steamy. I was fighting not to make any faces and praying that no one could hear through my headphones. Aidan is one of those men that it's perfect in books and would also be perfect in real life. His only red flag would be being an OnlyFans subscriber. And if we take that aside, 10 out of 10. The way this book was narrated, it was so descriptive, emphasizing the details and talking with a lot of expression in their voices. I felt like I was actually in the head of the characters instead of just listening to someone read the book out loud for me with a little bit of acting. And that was a huge plus. Like, it was that much more immersive. The third act conflict is what kind of ruined it for me. It was infuriating and I wanted to bang my head against the wall. Thankfully, it didn't last very long, but I still wanted to punch Cassie in the face. Still, I had a great time listening to this. I really enjoyed it and I would absolutely recommend it. Well, those are all of the books that I have read so far this year. Let me know if you have read any of them and your thoughts. I am definitely out of the slum, so I hope I get to read more than 5 books for my next wrap up, which will be in either June or July because I don't read enough in a month to make a monthly wrap up, but we'll see. Well, thanks for watching. If you liked it, subscribe, give it a like, you know the drill. See you next time.